Should you shop the Sephora sale or should you wait for Black Friday? Believe it or not, Black Friday is only a couple of weeks away, and I personally have always found it a little bit strange that Sephora decides to have their VIB sale so close to Black Friday. But I think at the end of the day, it all comes down to money. They're hoping that you'll spend money now during the Sephora sale, and then a couple weeks later, forget about all the money that you spent and buy some more things on Black Friday weekend. So in today's video, I'll be sharing some of my favorite products from Sephora and letting you know whether it makes sense to buy them during the Sephora sale. In some cases it does, or to wait for Black Friday when you'll get a better deal. So if that sounds good, let's go ahead and jump right in and get started. All right, so let's go ahead just by category and I'll let you know what some of my favorites are that I tried this year. And I'll also throw in just some classic favorites that I've recommended year after year. So the first category would be primers. And to be completely honest with you, I really didn't try a primer this year in 2024 that I really loved from Sephora that I thought beat out my old favorites. I tried the new Huda Beauty and One Size blurring primers, and I just really didn't feel like they blurred as much as I was hoping they were going to. I also tried the Milk Makeup Cloud primer thing, and I don't even know what that was about. It literally just disappeared into my skin and did absolutely nothing. So I felt like those were kind of disappointing launches, but some of my favorites too, actually, that I really love from Sephora. One is the Tatcha Liquid Silk Canvas. I think this one is so blurring and it really hydrates my skin. It plumps everything up and I feel like makeup goes on top of it really, really smoothly. So I definitely would recommend that one. Granted, I do think e.l.f. has one that is really close and it's a really great alternative. So if you don't want to spend the money on this, I think you would probably like the e.l.f. one just as much. But if you're set on getting the Tatcha one, I would actually wait for the Black Friday sale. Tatcha always does 25% off site-wide plus free shipping. So unless you have the Rouge status at Sephora and you're going to be getting 20% off, it doesn't necessarily make sense. If you're getting 10 or 15, I would just wait for the Tatcha sale. It's always really good. And that's always the time that I stock up on their dewy skin cream. The other primer that I really love, I actually have here, and it's the YSL Touche Éclat primer. This one I have talked about year after year. I feel like I always include it in these videos, but it is one of my all-time favorites, especially if you have dry skin. This primer has an oil base, so it kind of goes on like a gel, but then the oils in the formula really hydrate your skin, and at the same time, it is so blurring. This just makes my skin look airbrushed when I wear it. It is very expensive, but I love how makeup goes so smoothly on top of this. You've probably heard that makeup artist trick to use a drop or two of oil all over your face before applying foundation. This does the same thing and more. I think it's just the perfect smooth canvas to put makeup on top of, and when I use this, I find that my makeup doesn't pill and it never looks dry or cakey. So I feel like this is definitely worth it. Now, as far as the Sephora sale goes, I would actually recommend buying this from the YSL website on Black Friday, Cyber Monday. YSL usually does 30% off site-wide, which is an amazing discount, and it's so much better than the 10, 15, or 20% that you're gonna get at Sephora. So if you've had your eye on this or any other YSL products, I would actually recommend just waiting for Black Friday. Let's move on to some foundations. There were a couple that I tried this year that I really think are fantastic. The first one is the Fenty Softly Lit. This is such a beautiful formula. If you have dry skin like I do, I'm actually wearing this foundation in the video today. I have it in the shade 150, which I actually think is a pretty decent shade match. And also, I think this foundation is very smoothing on dry skin and it has a nice satin finish. Even though it's called Softly Lit, I don't find that it's overly dewy or glowy. It just has a nice skin-like finish with a little bit of glow, not too much. It's like a solid medium coverage right in the middle where I like it. So I love this one. And when it comes to buying this at either Sephora or during the Black Friday sale, historically, Fenty usually does a 25 to 30% off discount on their site, depending on the day. It kind of changes day by day. That's usually what they do. Either way, it's a better discount than what you'll get at Sephora. But if you're VIB Rouge and you're getting the 20% off, it may make sense for you to buy it at Sephora since the website isn't a much higher discount, especially if it's just more convenient to shop at Sephora. But you are getting the better deal on Black Friday for sure with this one. Another foundation I've really been liking this year so far is the One Size Turn Up the Base foundation. So this also, it claims to have full coverage, but usually when I apply it with a sponge, I get about medium coverage out of it. This formula is a little bit more matte than the Fenty one that I just showed you, but it's still pretty close to that satin skin-like finish that I like. It's just not maybe quite as glowy as that one, but I still wouldn't call that one glowy. Either way, I like that this is the softer matte finish that really doesn't make my skin look dry at all. So this has been another one I've talked about a few times on my channel now, and I've been using it a lot. My one complaint with this is the shade range for cool undertones isn't the best. I have the shade Light 15R, and while it isn't terribly yellow, it's not as cool as I would like it to be. I think it still looks okay once I blend it out on my skin though, but I'm still really enjoying this formula a lot. And in the past for Black Friday, One Size hasn't really done like a consistent site-wide discount. So last year they did up to 50% off select items. We don't know if this is going to be included in that. We don't know what the actual discount is going to be. So if you're interested in this foundation, it may be a risk to wait for Black Friday and then you'll end up not getting a super good discount off of this anyway. It might make sense to just grab it at Sephora while you can during the sale. The next two are from Makeup Forever. These are not new foundations, but they're just ones that I've loved year after year. So it's the HD Skin Original and then the HD Skin Hydra Glow. So these are also a very natural looking foundation. The regular HD Skin has, again, that satin skin-like finish. That is my number one type of finish. It's not too glowy, it's not too matte, and also it has that perfect medium coverage, so it's not too heavy, it's also not too light. I really love this one a lot. It looks just like your skin. And then the HD Skin Hydra Glow is kind of a lighter version of this one. So this has a little less coverage. It's more of like a light to medium coverage. You can build it up a little, but this one has more of the glowy, dewy skin tint type of finish. So I don't wear this one as often, especially because the coverage level isn't there, but I do love the way that this looks on my dry skin and it feels like a moisturizer going on. So it is a heavenly formula if you have really dry skin and you feel like foundations are always looking cakey or clinging to dry patches. This is not going to do that. It's so beautiful. I have both of these in the shade 1R12, and even though these both have that rosier undertone that I like, they're a little bit deeper than my natural skin tone. So again, it's always a struggle for me to find cool tones in my actual skin color. I always have to go either deeper or lighter most of the time, but these aren't too far off. I can definitely make them work. And when it comes to Black Friday, last year Makeup Forever did 30% off site-wide and then 50% off select products, which I think is an amazing discount. I think when it comes to Makeup Forever, I would probably just wait for Black Friday and order from their website. And then one more quick foundation I wanted to mention is the Easy Blur from Huda Beauty. I really love this formula too. I thought that this looked so beautiful on my skin. However, I wanted to mention that it's super similar to the e.l.f. Soft Glam Foundation. I find these to be so close that I'm not even sure it's worth it to buy the Huda Beauty unless maybe you're having trouble finding your shade match in the e.l.f. But this is a really beautiful formula. Medium coverage, satin skin-like finish. It also is supposed to have a little bit of a blurring effect, and I do find that this makes my skin incredibly smooth looking. So as far as the discounts go, Black Friday for Huda Beauty is typically, again, not a static thing. You don't always have like a 30% off site-wide or something like that. Huda usually does up to 80% off. So the 80% off stuff is usually things that she's trying to get rid of and clear out of. The newer products are usually closer to like 20% off or 30%. So it's really hard to say. If you're interested in this, it may make sense to just get it at Sephora while you can, rather than risk Black Friday. I mean, you could get lucky, but you never know. All right, moving on to concealer. I just have a couple things I wanted to talk about quickly. I think my most used concealer when it comes to high-end brands is the Natasha Denona High Glam. This one is just my favorite formula. Again, kind of for the reasons that I love these foundations that I talked about, because it is like a medium coverage. It's not too heavy. It's also not too light. So it really covers what I need it to without being like too much. And the formula is also just very kind to dry skin. It doesn't settle into the wrinkles that I have under my eyes. It doesn't crease on me. It just melts in and blends to perfection. Like I said, it's one of the ones that I reach for the most in my collection. So when it comes to Natasha Denona, for Black Friday, she typically does up to 50% off select items. So again, it's a gamble. You really don't know if this is going to be included or not, or any of the things that you might be looking at from her brand. So I think just to make sure that you do get your discount, you may just want to grab this at Sephora, but I also do have a 15% off coupon for Natasha Denona that's good year round. So if you ever want to buy anything from Natasha Denona, you can just use code JenPhelps and you'll get 15% off that way. So either way, no pressure to use my code or anything. Just wanted to throw it out there that I do have it. Another concealer that I like, I don't love it as much as the Natasha Denona, but I just wanted to mention it because I do think it is a nice option, is the Haus Labs concealer. So I have this one in the shade 3 Fair Rosy. This one is actually a little bit lighter on me than the Natasha Denona. I also think this formula sits really nicely under my eyes and it doesn't crease and it doesn't look dry. It's a little bit thicker of a formula than the Natasha Denona one is, so I just reach for this one more because it's so thin and just blends out really fast. This one I feel like I have to work a little bit more with it, but the end result is still really nice. So this is just one more option. And as far as Black Friday, Haus Labs did 20% off site-wide last year, which if you are rouge at Sephora, it's the same thing. So you might as well just pick it up at the Sephora sale, and it's a little bit easier, I think. But if you only have the 10% at Sephora, then you may want to hold off and get that extra 10% on the Haus Labs website. And then there's just one more in the category of concealers I wanted to mention, and it's the Cali Ray Hideaway Color Corrector. So this is supposed to be a corrector slash concealer in one. I have the lightest shade, which is Dawn, and this is a pink color corrector. So if you have fair to light skin, the pink is really going to help counteract the dark circles. And I find this to be incredibly brightening on my skin. I like to apply this just to the outer corner and inner corners of my eyes because that's usually where I get darkness. I don't get it as much under my eyes, but I feel like even if you do, this formula is very thin and lightweight. So if you want to put it underneath, I don't think it's going to look heavy, and I don't find this to be like a creasing formula. It actually has really amazing reviews on the Sephora website, so definitely, check some of those out before you buy. But I personally really love this formula, and when it comes to Black Friday, I couldn't find any information on any deals that Cali Ray did last year. So I don't know if they even do a Black Friday sale. Some brands don't. If you're interested in anything Cali Ray, I would probably just grab it from Sephora because I don't know if they're doing Black Friday at all. And then when it comes to powders, I'm, to be honest, probably not the best person to recommend powders because I rarely ever set my face with powder. Having dry skin, I just don't find it super necessary most of the time. But that being said, I do have one powder at Sephora that is my favorite, and it's the Huda Beauty Easy Bake. I think this one just looks incredibly smooth on your skin, whether you're putting it under your eyes or all over your face. I don't find this to accentuate dryness or make my skin look dull. I think it just does the job of mattifying everything and making everything look kind of more smooth and poreless and airbrushed. So I think this is a beautiful powder. I do have her pressed version as well, but this one I find is a little bit more glowy. I think I like this one more because the glow in this, I find it just draws attention to anything that's under my eyes, any kind of like fine lines or texture. So I do prefer the loose one. And I was also a huge fan of the Prism Libre powder from Givenchy. Unfortunately, they reformulated that one and it is super glowy now, so I wouldn't recommend getting that. This is definitely my favorite. And again, Huda Beauty typically does up to 80% off for Black Friday. We don't know what the discount is going to be. So I would probably just grab this at Sephora if you can and just call it a day. I did want to mention that I tried the new Rare Beauty powder this year and I really didn't like it. If you are dry like I am, I just found it to be very dry looking on my skin, and also I felt like it oxidized, and it's just like a thicker powder. It's not as fine as something like this. I found that it just sat very heavily on my face, so I wasn't a big fan of that one. But if you are planning to buy the Rare Beauty powder or anything else from Rare Beauty, in the past, during Black Friday, they typically do a gift with purchase rather than a site-wide discount. So it's like you spend $50 and you get this for free, or you spend $75 and you get that for free. They didn't seem to offer like a blanket 25 or 30% off. So if you want that discount, I would definitely just shop Rare Beauty during the Sephora sale. Next, when it comes to eyeshadow, I have been loving these eyeshadow pots from Kulfi. These are such a beautiful formula. I have 2 shades currently, and one of them, Sitara Sparkles, is very sparkly, and then the other one, Plum Pitaka, is more of a satin finish. So the finishes in these do vary, but I love this formula because it doesn't crease, it sets down nicely, but it does give you a minute or so to blend out before they truly set down. But once they do, they just don't go anywhere. So if you like cream shadows, I definitely recommend checking these out. Last year, Kulfi did a 20% off site-wide for Black Friday. So if you are Rouge at Sephora and you're getting 20% off anyway, it might make sense to just buy these at Sephora. But if you're not and you want that extra discount, especially if you're going to be buying more than just 1 or 2 things from Kulfi, then it might make sense to wait for Black Friday. And when it comes to palettes, I have a couple here that I tried this year. The first one is the Dreamy Dozen Volume 2 from Lawless, and I thought that this was so beautiful. At the end of the day, it is just a warm, neutral palette, and I think a lot of us have many of these colors already, but I found this formula to just be so nice. It really took me by surprise at how much I loved the shimmer shades. They're just so creamy. They go on like butter. The matte shades are also nicely pigmented, but very easy to blend at the same time. And this is actually a talc-free formula. So if you've been wanting to get more into talc-free eyeshadows, then I would definitely check out Lawless, because I just have had great luck every time I've used this palette. And in the past, Lawless has done 30% off site-wide for Black Friday. So this one may actually be worth waiting for. Another palette I have been loving and I use so much is the I Need a Nude palette from Natasha Denona. I know she came out with her gold palette this year and the warm palette, but I Need a Nude is still my favorite out of those. I just find these tones to work a little bit better for me. It's not quite as golden, not quite as warm. There are some warmer shades in here, but there are also some cool tones, and I just love that this has the mix of both. I'm wearing this palette in the video today, and I just love my eye look every time I use this palette. If you don't want to spend Natasha Denona money, Alter Ego does have a really good dupe of this, so that's one option. And there's also this other palette that I found on Amazon that I reviewed a while ago, and I think that formula is also very good, and you can get the same kind of looks out of that one as well. But if you have your heart set on getting the original, I would say go for it. It is one of my most used palettes right now, and in the past, Natasha Denona, like I said before when I talked about the concealer, she does up to 50% off select items. We don't know if this is going to be included. So in this case, I would probably just grab it during the Sephora sale or use my 15% off code on her website. I also just wanted to mention these from Anastasia Beverly Hills. I know these are older palettes, but I still use them all the time. I just featured both of these in a video where I talked about finding one and done shadows within my palettes. So if you missed that video, definitely check it out. It was so much fun. But Nouveau is just such a gorgeous color story. It has the neutrals in there, but I don't know, I just love these light springy colors, and this is the way that I love to wear color. It's not too bright, it's not too bold, but it's like those more muted earthy tones. So it's not completely outside of my neutral comfort zone that I'm usually in. And Fall Romance also, when I first saw this palette, I thought it was gonna be way too deep and dark and smoky for me, but I use it more than I thought I would. There are a lot of stunning shimmer shades in here that you really could use as one and done shadows. And while the matte shades do skew a little bit darker, I find that I can use this shade Leather for my crease right here for pretty much any look that I want want to do with this palette. So I usually just stick to that one, and then I use the deeper mattes like for my outer corner, things like that. So this is another really gorgeous palette with an incredible formula. And in the past for Black Friday, Anastasia has done a 20% off of 50, 30% off 75, 40% off 100. So it's like a tiered discount depending on how much you spend. And I think that would make sense if you are planning to buy a lot from Anastasia, but if you're not, then you can probably just stick to Sephora because it's 20%, which is good, but it's not huge. So I think you have to just kind of gauge it based on how much you're planning to spend. When it comes to mascara, I have been pretty much exclusively using tubing formulas the past couple of years. I just love how they don't smudge under your eyes and they're really easy to remove. So my recommendations at Sephora are basically for tubing mascaras. So I have 4 of them that I really, really enjoy. The first one is the Hourglass tubing mascara. It's the unlocked extensions, and this, oh my gosh, one of you recommended it to me, and the first time I tried it, I actually don't have it now, I used up my tube of it, but the first time I tried it, I wasn't super impressed, but then I kind of threw it in a drawer, forgot about it, I waited a couple weeks, and then I went to try it again, and it was so good. So this formula, I think it just needs to dry out a little bit, and it's amazing. So it is a little bit on the pricey side, and when it comes to Black Friday, Hourglass does usually a 20% off site-wide. So again, if you're rouge, it really doesn't make too much of a difference. You can just buy it at Sephora, but that's a really good one. I also have been really enjoying the Milk Makeup tubing mascara. This is another one that I liked it initially, but it's just continued to get better with time as it dries out. It gives me so much length and volume. It's actually really similar to the Hourglass one. So this one might be a few bucks cheaper. You could always just go for this one instead of the Hourglass. I don't find a lot of difference between them. I love the way both of these make my lashes look. And Milk Makeup in the past has done 25% off site-wide during Black Friday. So personally, I would just hold off and wait and buy this at that point. I think 25% is really good. Another tubing mascara I really love right now is the Tarte Tartelette XL tubing mascara. So not the original Tartelette one, the XL. This is the new one in the gold tube, and it is incredible. It's super close to the liquid lash extensions from Thrive. I'm wearing this one today, and it just gives you huge lashes. I really enjoy this formula so much. And when it comes to Tarte, I find that they do incredible deals, even like year round, not just Black Friday, but they regularly do 30% off site-wide sales. And that's usually what they do for Black Friday, but then Cyber Monday, they typically bump it up to 40%, which is even crazier. So I think when it comes to Tarte, not just this mascara, but like anything that you want to buy from Tarte, it makes sense to shop their Black Friday sale because they really do it right. And again, they usually offer free shipping. So it's honestly a no-brainer when it comes to them. And then one more tubing mascara I really like at Sephora is the Cali Ray Come Hell or High Water. This one I find doesn't give me quite as big a lashes as the other 3 that I mentioned, but I still really enjoy this formula. And I find that the wand on this one is different from the other 3 in that this is the more traditional mascara wand that's a little fluffier and it's softer. It's not the spiky silicone ones that poke you in the eye. So if you prefer this type of mascara wand, I think this is an awesome tubing formula. Again, Cali Ray doesn't really do Black Friday from what I can see online. So this is another one I would definitely just purchase at Sephora if you have the chance. Next, when it comes to bronzer, there are 3 that I typically reach for the most when it comes to luxury brands. The first one is definitely the Gucci bronzer. I know this is super pricey, but I think during the Sephora sale is really the best time to get it. Gucci doesn't do Black Friday at all. So the Sephora sale is really the only time that this is actually at a discount. I have this in the shade Fair, and it is the most perfect color that I still have had a really hard time duplicating in any other brand. I've tried to dupe this so many times, but nothing has this level of rosiness. There are a few that come close, like the NYX Butter Bronzer, or the Buttermelt Bronzer, or the L'Oreal one. But when it comes to color with that rosy undertone that really mimics almost like a sunburn look on me, There's nothing that beats this, and the formula is just so gorgeous. It's really like smooth. It blends out so easily. It doesn't get muddy. It's definitely worth the splurge, and I don't say that often because I can usually find something at the drugstore that can be comparable to the luxury brands, but this is one of those products that I just can't. It's amazing. Another bronzer that I tried earlier this year that I've really been enjoying is this Too Faced bronzer stick. So this one I have in the shade Chocolate Mousse. And this is beautiful. It has a cooler undertone. It's actually almost like a contour, but I find that it's not super gray. So it still warms up my face a little bit. And the texture of this is so seamless. It really just melts into your skin. It blends out in 2 seconds. It also smells like chocolate, which enhances the experience for me because I love chocolate. This is so good, but just keep in mind Too Faced usually offers 30% off site-wide for Black Friday. So you may want to hold off and just grab this from the Too Faced website during that time. Another bronzer that I really love is the Glossier Cloud Paint Bronzer. I have this one in the shade Sail, and this one too, it's like the perfect color for me. I love the rosy undertone, and I wish that more of the drugstore bronzers would get on board with that because it just looks so natural on me. And I remember filming a video where I tried this on for the first time, and I'll insert the clip of that here if I can find it, but it just blew me away how much this melted and like became one with my skin. It was so easy to blend, and it just looked incredibly natural. It didn't really look like I was wearing bronzer, but it warmed up my face so nicely. So this is a formula I think would be great for beginners. If you're not used to using liquid bronzers, I think this one, it just like almost blends itself. Super easy to use. And last year, Glossier did 25% off site-wide, which is really good, and 30% off if you spend $100 or more. So I think if you've been wanting to try this or anything else from Glossier, then you probably just want to wait for Black Friday on that. Next up, when it comes to blush, I do have several that I wanted to mention. I feel like blush is just one of those categories I get so excited about that it's hard to narrow them down. I really tried because I don't want to overwhelm you guys, but I just honestly couldn't pick between all of these. So let's start with powder formulas first. I cannot get over these new Fenty Suede blushes. These are just such a unique and beautiful formula. I keep reaching for these over and over again. I think for my Sephora Sale wish list, I'm probably going to get at least another color because they are so cool. They're a powder, but when you pick them up on your finger, they turn into a cream. Like they just melt so seamlessly on your cheeks. They just have a smoothing effect and they blend out like nothing. And when you look at them on your skin, because they kind of melt into like a cream, they just look so seamless. It doesn't look like powder sitting on top. It looks like the blush is kind of coming from within your skin rather than sitting on top. It's an incredible formula and something a little more unique that we're not seeing from other brands. So I highly recommend these. As far as Fenty in the past, like I mentioned with the foundation I talked about, they do 25 to 30% off site-wide usually. So I feel like if you have a couple of things that you're looking at from Fenty, it makes sense to wait for Black Friday. If you're just gonna grab one thing, then it may not matter quite as much. You could grab it at Sephora, but either way, I think these are fabulous. Also, just an oldie but a goodie, the Tarte Amazonian Clay blushes are some of my favorites. I reach for this one, which is Party, all the time. And I say it that way because that's actually the way it's spelled, P-A-A-A-A-R-T-Y. But anyway, love this color so much. Exposed is another favorite of mine. I think these blushes are just some of the longest lasting on your cheeks when it comes to a powder formula, and they just look so smooth and pretty. So even though these aren't new, I still reach for these over and over again in my collection. I love these and just are definitely worth mentioning. But again, like I talked about before, Tarte usually does 30 to 40% off during Black Friday, Cyber Monday weekend. So I would hold off if you're going to buy anything from Tarte. It really doesn't make sense to get it during the Sephora sale. And then when it comes to some liquid and cream formulas, there are, again, a few that I just love so much. Two of them are from Cali Ray, actually. So this one is the Super Bloom blushes, and these are a 2-in-1 product you can use on your lips and your cheeks. I took all 4 shades on every vacation that I went on this summer. I just love these so much. I think they have like a little bit of a dewy texture, so they're not drying on your lips, but at the same time, I don't find them to be overly sticky on your cheeks either. They're just like the perfect formula that works for both, and I feel like that's very hard to do. Most of the time, if it works on my cheeks, I don't like it on my lips, it's too dry, and if I like it on my lips, it's too sticky for my cheeks. These really are just amazing, and they just come in the most beautiful colors. 2 of them are a little more on the neutral side, and then 2 are a little bit more punchy and poppy, but I love using these because I find them to be so easy. You have a coordinated lip and cheek right away. You don't have to think about like, what color should I put with this? It makes it super easy. So I love these, and also the new Cali Ray blurring blushes are beautiful too. I tried one of these in a video not too long ago, and I remember I was wearing that Patrick Ta foundation, the new one that's super glowy, and I hated the way that looked on my skin. But when I put this on top, it like instantly blurred the foundation where I put it, almost like I had powdered over it. So these have that airbrushing effect. They make your cheeks look so smooth, and if you have a lot of texture, I think these look so stunning. And again, as I mentioned before, I don't think Cali Ray really does anything for Black Friday, so I would pick these up at Sephora for sure. Another liquid blush that I am crazy about right now is this one from YSL. I only have this one shade, and it's actually the blush that I'm wearing in the video today. But I love how smoothly these blend out on your cheeks. Sometimes liquids can be really finicky. Sometimes they can lift up your foundation, or they can look patchy. This is just so pigmented, so you only need a tiny, tiny little bit, but this blends out so super smoothly, and it's pigmented enough that I don't feel like I have to keep adding layers or building it up. Just one coat is good, and it lasts me the entire day. Like, these are so long lasting. These are actually on my wish list. I want to pick up another one during Black Friday, especially because YSL does 30% off, so that's a really good deal. I might pick up either 1 or 2 more because they're just fantastic. And then just one more quick mention, if you like the blurring blush idea, from Lawless, they have their Soft Blur Cream Blush. So I have the whole range of these, and they are stunning. This is the shade Cherry Pie. But if you like the idea of the blurring texture and you don't want to bother with like a cream formula, this is easy because you could just swirl your brush into the compact and put it right on that way. And these, again, just airbrush your cheeks. They just smooth over all the pores and texture, and they look like you're applying a filter to your cheeks, basically. So these are just fantastic. They come in so many stunning colors, and Lawless typically does 30% off for Black Friday. So again, if you're interested in this or the Dreamy Dozen palette that I mentioned earlier, it might make sense to just buy it on their website for Black Friday. But I also want to mention ColourPop does have a blurring blush formula that's almost exactly like this. So if you don't want to pay the high-end price tag, grab these blushes from ColourPop because those are fantastic as well and really, really similar, almost identical. Okay, let's move on to lips, and I actually have a couple of lip liner recommendations for you guys. And lip liners for me are a product that I actually wear more than regular lipsticks these days. I think because lip liners worn as a lipstick just seem to last so much longer than your typical lipstick, and I don't really go for like the matte liquid versions because I find that they just make my lips feel and look really dry. But if I use a lip liner and I line my lips first on the outside, then fill them in and then top it with a lip balm, I find that it keeps my lips hydrated and the color underneath just stays put so much longer than a regular lipstick would. So some of my favorite lip liners are the Makeup Forever Artist pencils. These, honestly, you can't go wrong with them. You can actually use them all over your face. Sometimes I even take them and like scribble it on like blush and then blend it. Because these are somewhat creamy, you can actually do that. Usually I'll just take my finger and blend it out really quickly. And the 2 colors that I use the most, hands down, are Anywhere Caffeine and Wherever Walnut. So Anywhere Caffeine is the one that I use when I just want more of a nude lip look to just pretty much go with anything. And Wherever Walnut has that little bit of like rosiness to it. It is more of like a neutral or nudie rose, and it's just so stunning, especially worn on its own. I love this one. And like I mentioned before when I was talking about the Makeup Forever foundations, they usually do about 30% off for Black Friday, which I think is an amazing deal. And they also, though, at Sephora, they have kits with mini versions of these, like a whole bunch of different colors. I just remembered they actually sent me the kit in PR. I just had to go and get it. But it has Wherever Walnut, it has Anywhere Caffeine, it also has the white shade and the black shade that you can use on your eyes or wherever you want on your face. And it also has a Limitless Brown, which again, I tend to just use as an eyeliner. So this is an awesome kit if you just want to try all of their best-selling colors. This is great. Another lip liner that I absolutely love is the Lawless Forget the Filler lip liners. I use these so often, particularly Pink Slip. Pink Slip this is a shade that I cannot duplicate. I've tried to find it at the drugstore, and I just can't find any cool tone pinks that look exactly like this. They're either a little brighter than this one, or they're a little bit warmer toned. Like nothing is exact. And this is really the perfect pinky mauvey shade that looks pretty much just like my natural lip color, but just slightly deeper. So I love this one for the most natural look. I wear it so often, probably more than any of my other lip liners. And I do have the other colors that these come in as well, but this one is my favorite. And it's definitely the one that I use the most. And again, keep in mind, I know I've talked about a couple of Lawless products already. 30% off for Black Friday is definitely a better deal than Sephora. So if you're thinking of maybe getting a couple of things from Lawless, I would just wait for their Black Friday sale. And then another lip liner that I really love are these ones from Makeup by Mario. And I think what makes these a little more unique is that they have a little brush on the end. And if you take a really bright color like this one, this is the shade Flame Red. It actually looks like a bright orangey red. And I've worn this a couple of times in videos, and it is so pretty. And I just wear it all over as a lipstick. But what's great about these is the little brush on the other side. You can kind of blend and feather it. And what I do is I'll line my lips and then just take this and blend it into the center. So it creates a little bit of color, but it's not as intense as if I just put it all over my lips. You can take this little brush and really just shear out the color and make it look so much more seamless than this harsh line all the way around. You can really just take it in toward the center with the brush. Not to mention the colors these come in are so pretty, and they are really creamy, but at the same time, I feel like they grip to your lips well. They're not going to slide off and go everywhere. So it's a really amazing formula. And Makeup by Mario last year did 25% off site-wide, which if you're rouge at Sephora, 25% might not be enough to make you want to like wait for Black Friday. You might just want to get it at the Sephora sale. But if you're getting 10% or 15% at Sephora, then 25 might be like a good enough discount just to hold on a little bit. When it comes to regular lipsticks, there are a lot at Sephora that are really beautiful, but for some reason, I don't know, I just tend to reach for the ones that I have from the drugstore more often. Not to mention, I either wear a liner or I wear a lot of like tinted lip balms and things like that. So I don't wear a lot of bullet lipsticks, but there's one that I really love. I'm actually wearing it in the video today, and it's the Anastasia Beverly Hills Satin Lipstick. This is such a nice formula. It's very creamy. It has a slight vanilla scent, but it's not too strong. And I just love that this doesn't make my lips look more lined. It doesn't sink into the lines or make them look dry or cracked. Like I said, it's very creamy, it's hydrating, and it has that little tiny bit of a glow. So it's not matte and it's not glossy. It's somewhere right in between, and I love that. And this particular shade, Rose Dream, which is the one I'm wearing, it's so gorgeous. I have this one and I have one other one, so I'll just show you guys some swatches, but these are so pretty. And Rose Dream is a little tiny bit glowier than the other one that I have. So I guess the finish can slightly vary between the shades, but I just really love these bullet lipsticks because they look so nice on your lips and these colors are so beautiful. So again, Anastasia Beverly Hills does that sort of tiered discount on Black Friday. So like if you spend $50, you get 20%. I think this is what they did last year. $75 gets you 30%, 100 gets you 40%. So unless you're buying like a palette and some lipsticks or blush and, a bunch of things, your discount isn't going to be super high. So I think it just depends on what you're actually going to purchase from them. Also, let's see. Oh, another lipstick that I really have been loving is from Kulfi. And this is their, what are these called exactly? The Lassie Lips Staining Lip Oil. These are like the glossy lip stains that we see in K-Beauty a lot. I know Milani has some, but the colors that these come in are so beautiful. I found that while I liked Milani's formula, all the colors were very dark. And I like that Kulfi has some lighter options for those of us who just want like the more your lips but better kind of colors and not something that's really, really deep. For some reason, lip stains just always tend to run very dark, and that's why I've in the past shied away from them more. But I love the colors that these come in. They really last on your lips, and they also don't dry your lips out. They're very comfortable to wear, and they look good for hours and hours, even after the shine and all of that wears away. You're just left with this really pretty soft stain behind. So these are great. And again, Kulfi did 20% off last year for Black Friday. So if you're rouge, it's not really that much of a difference. I would just probably shop these now while you can at Sephora, unless you're only getting the 10% at Sephora, then it might make sense to wait if you want some things from this brand. Also, you guys heard me talk a lot about the K-Skin SPF lip balms over the summer. I still love these. I know it's not summer and we're not really talking about SPF as much anymore, but it is still very important to wear SPF year round, even if you live in the Northeast like I do and you're in full winter. I mean, I knew plenty of people growing up that went skiing and would come home with a sunburn. So it's still like you're still getting sun damage, you're still getting sun exposure. So it is important to protect yourself. And these lip balms are so gorgeous. They have a really nice, yummy vanilla scent. They don't have like the gross sunscreen smell. And they also don't taste bad. Like if you get them in your mouth, sometimes certain sunscreen lip balms taste horrible. These have mineral sunscreen in them, so they don't have that taste. And the colors are beautiful. They're super glossy. They're very balmy and not sticky either. So they just feel really good on your lips. Very hydrating. So I absolutely love these. Now, last year, K-Skin did 30% off site-wide for Black Friday, so that was a really great deal. And if you're interested in these, I think it could make sense to wait. Sephora also has a value set, though. These are, I think, only 15 bucks each, so they're not like a super expensive product, but Sephora has a set of 3 for $31 right now, and that's a $45 value. So you're saving there anyway. Plus, then you can add the discount from Sephora on top of that. You can actually get these for a really good price. So anyway, the kit might be a really good deal. Another SPF lip balm that I really loved, and maybe you'll like the colors of these better, I'm not sure, is the In Beauty Project Sun Balm SPF 30. So just like the K-Skin ones, I mean, these are really similar. They're also balmy, very hydrating and nourishing. They have a mineral SPF, so there's no funky taste to them. And these actually don't have a scent, so if that's important to you too, you might like these better than the K-Skin ones. These are more expensive than the K-Skin ones though, but you're getting double the amount of product in here. These have 0.6 ounces and the K-Skin are 0.35. So for $24, you're actually getting, it's really a better deal at the end of the day because 2 of these is $30. So even though it's more expensive, you are getting more product in the In Beauty ones for a better price. And for Black Friday last year, In Beauty Project did 20% off site-wide, but it was bumped up to 25% if you spent 50 or more and 30% if you spent 80 or more. So again, it's one of those tiered things, but you'll get at least 20% off from them. So again, depending on your level at Sephora, it may or may not make sense to wait. And also, I just wanted to mention the new Laneige Bouncy Lip Mask. So, a lot of you probably know, because I've mentioned this so many times on my channel, I'm not a huge fan of the original Laneige lip mask. For whatever reason, I just didn't feel like it hydrated my lips well enough. It felt okay at first, but in the morning, my lips just weren't as hydrated or smooth as I was hoping that they would be. So the new Bouncy and Firm mask, though, is amazing. I've been using this for the past couple weeks. It comes with a little applicator that's right in the cap, which is so nice. And unlike the original Laneige mask, this one has kind of this like bouncy jelly texture. It's a little bit more liquidy, while the original one is very firm in the jar. It's like a solid. This one's a little bit more liquidy, and you only need the tiniest little bit. Like, I've been using this for a couple weeks and I hardly made a dent in it at all. In the morning, I still feel this, like it just grips to your lips like Velcro and it just stays put. And it has almost like this very glossy vinyl-like feel, but honestly, when I woke up, it felt like it did when I still applied it. It was so nice, and it really made a huge difference. So I think heading into the winter months especially, this is going to be so great. And as a brand, Laneige last year did 25% off for Black Friday. So it's pretty significant if you want to just wait a little while. If you had your eye on this, their bouncy sleeping mask for your face is also pretty nice too. I have that one. And that's another really nice formula, as well as their milky toner. I like that one too. So I guess that's kind of a good segue into skincare. So the first product I wanted to talk about is the Tatcha Dewy Skin Cream. I know I mentioned this earlier in the video. I love this. This is my number one moisturizer, and there are tons of moisturizers that I love. I keep going back to this one. There's just something about it. It just makes my skin look and feel so great. I feel like when I use this, my foundation sits better on my skin because it's so deeply nourishing. Any other moisturizer, even if it's a super rich formula, will eventually sink into my skin and just disappear. And this one, for whatever reason, I find that my skin will actually stay dewy for a longer amount of time. So I have the little mini right now. I got this over the summer just to travel with, and it's kind of tiding me over until Black Friday, because that's when I always repurchase my bigger size jar. And Tatcha always does a 25% off sale for Black Friday, and usually it's even before Black Friday that they start that. So for me, I never end up getting it at Sephora. It just makes sense to order it on their website. Another product that I really love, and I actually just bought a new bottle of this, is the Ordinary's Glycolic Acid 7% Exfoliating Toner. So this is too strong for my face. I tried using it on my face the first time and it just kind of burned and it was too much, but I use this all over my body. I put it on my legs, my arms, anywhere that I have those KP bumps, and it gets rid of them so fast. Or even just if my skin is particularly dry and flaky looking, I put this on and it just eats up all the flakes. Then I just moisturize after that and my skin is so much smoother. And it's so cheap. It's so worth it. It actually performs better than so many of the, the lotions that are marketed toward like getting rid of KP or like bumpy, rough skin. This is just so much stronger, I guess, and that's why it works really well. But for whatever reason, it doesn't bother the skin on my body. Like, it's not too strong for that. It's just my face is more sensitive, I guess. So on my body, it works great and I love it. For Black Friday, The Ordinary, or Deciem in general, their parent company, does 23% off the entire month of November. So that's going to be starting actually this Friday coming up. And it's a good deal. I mean, their products are pretty affordable anyway, so it just makes it even more so. And if you struggle with rough and bumpy skin, definitely try using this all over. I usually use it like once a week or something, and it works out great. They also have a much bigger bottle of it. So if you're using it like on a regular basis on your body, you could get that one too. And then this one from the Inky list is one that I've been using on my feet. So this is the Glycolic Acid Exfoliating Body Stick. It's supposed to do basically what I just described with this. You're supposed to put it on your body, like the backs of your arms, your legs, anywhere that you have rough, bumpy skin that you want it to smooth out. This is also a glycolic acid treatment, but it's a little bit of like a thick, almost balmy texture. So I don't really love rubbing it all over my body. But for my feet, this is genius. And especially because at night when I'm going to bed, I usually like to put an exfoliating cream on my feet and then put socks on over it to kind of keep everything in. But I hate touching my feet before I get into bed. Then I feel like I have to go wash my hands before I can get into bed. But with this, like, I keep it on the nightstand and I just run it all over my feet really quick and then just put socks on. And I feel like I don't get my hands all gunky and dirty. So it's great, and it really does does help to smooth out calluses and rough skin, especially if you put socks on top of it. When you wake up in the morning, your feet are so much smoother. So last year, the Inky List did 25% off site-wide, which is, again, a really good deal. So it may not be enough for you to make a difference if you're Rouge, but certainly if you are an insider or VIB, it's a nice discount. When it comes to hair too, I have to shout out K18. I have the shampoo, conditioner, and the hair oil. And I have to say, K18 really saved my hair. And a lot of you guys know that I used to have really dark brown hair. I've shown different clips of me and stuff from a couple of years ago, but I had to stop dyeing my hair because I have an allergy to hair dye. And so the only thing that I can do now is highlights, which are, they're in the foils, they don't touch my scalp. And even then, like the highlight, it's bleach, it's not dye. So they're two very different things. I'm not allergic to the highlights. So I can really only be blonde from now on, but blonde hair and highlights in general are just so damaging. And even though we've always been told that you cannot repair your hair once it's damaged, you can just kind of smooth it over with products and make it look better, K18 and Olaplex as well really change the game and have created products that can rebuild the bonds in your hair. And so when I think back to years ago when I used to highlight my hair before I went darker, my hair looked horrible. Like it was always very fried looking. It would break off sometimes. It was always really frizzy. And I'm not saying that my hair is like the picture of health now, but it's soft, it has movement, it's an absolute night and day difference from what it was before. And so I credit all of that to K18 because since I've been using it, I haven't experienced any of the breakage and roughness that I normally feel with my hair when I get it highlighted. And typically K18 also has a treatment that's more intensive. So right after I get highlights, then I'll use that for a couple of weeks first. And I really just use now the shampoo and conditioner and the hair oil as maintenance. But it's just amazing that we have this technology now. Unfortunately, they're just really expensive. So I think the Sephora Sale Black Friday is a good time to be able to try the products if you've always been wanting to. So speaking of Black Friday, last year they did 20 to 30% depending on the product. So I don't think it was like a site-wide type of sale, but still a pretty significant discount. So you may want to keep that in mind. So anyway, guys, I do think there are a lot of really awesome Black Friday deals that are going to be coming our way, and some things that I think it makes more sense to just shop at Sephora. And there's one thing that I didn't mention, and that's Sephora Collection. They're going to be 30% off during the sale. And obviously you can't get Sephora Collection anywhere but Sephora. So if you'd like to see me do a video about Sephora Collection heading into the sale, let me know and I can round up my favorites for you guys. And also I did like an epic 2-hour long video on my favorite products from every single brand at Sephora from A to Z, at least at the time when I filmed the video. So I'll put that right up here in case you want to check that out next. I also have my last year's video, just like this one, and I'll put that one right here. So I want to thank you guys so much for taking time out of your day to watch this video. I truly appreciate it. Let me know what you're planning on buying for the Sephora sale or if you're waiting for Black Friday. Thank you guys. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in my next one. Take care. Bye.